Hello everyone, this is Dan. I am the creator of Sundays in Space, a comic book about a group of space outlaws just getting into trouble throughout the universe. And what I wanted to do is a deep dive on some of the short stories that make up an issue. Now, if you're familiar with my book, it's usually the issues are made up of 3 or 4 short stories. And I just wanted to deep dive into each of them and give my thoughts on what was going on at the time. So we're going to start off with A Space Thanksgiving from the very first issue. First story, first issue. And yeah, so let's dig into it. So before we go into this, I want to explain why I do short stories the way I do, or why my book is more like an anthology. And it's because I originally started out, and these aren't all the pages. This is just a sampling from somewhere in the middle of the issue, probably 13 through 26 or something like that. Page 13 through 26. But I started out doing like a giant book that was going to be somewhere between 60 and 90 pages. I was going through pencil and everything. And then, about halfway through, I decided, well, let me go back and start inking some things while I'm penciling up the remaining pages. And I just wasn't happy with the art. As this being my first comic, obviously, if you're working hard on it every day, you're going to see massive improvements. So I would go back to like page 1 and like compare that to page 40, and it's just like, oh no, this ain't going to work. It doesn't even look good. And none of this looks good, actually, but very proud of it. But so I started taking the advice that you hear often. Don't start off, as a comic creator, don't start out with your big epic, right? Create something that is smaller, more manageable. Learn how to deal with that. Do another one. Then do another one that's a little bit longer. Build yourself up. So I finally took that advice after getting frustrated with this. Around that same time, I ran into this little Thanksgiving anthology post by Dreamtown Comics. And it was just a basic little 4-page Thanksgiving story he did. Fun little twist at the end. And I was kind of cool with this, so I was like, well, let me do my Thanksgiving story, and maybe we could make an anthology. Well, that never went anywhere, at least with me. Maybe he did with other guys. I don't know. But this is what so I decided enough of this, and this came along at the right time, so I did something along these lines, and that's where we end up with this short story here. All right. So this short story is contained in this issue, the very first issue. Amazing cover. I love this cover so much. I don't know if I'm going to be able to draw a better cover than this ever. I don't know how I did this on my first cover, but anyway, it's not about the cover. But that's where you'll find this story. You'll notice over here the credits page. I wanted to show this because all right, so let me explain this. So you'll notice that this story has a little asterisk by it, right? Colors by Dan, right? So when I originally started this, I wanted to do all the colors. I wanted to do everything. Once I got into it, and it took me about a week to draw this story, it ended up taking me about 3 weeks to color it, and I just didn't think that was sustainable to being able to put a comic book out as much as I wanted to. Excuse me. So that's why I decided to hire the amazing Giovanna Plata, which we will see on the following stories when we get to them. But you can see her colors here on this cover. Just amazing. So good. So this is the first story you'll see colored by me and the last story you'll see colored by me. So let's get right into it. All right, so it starts off. A Thanksgiving warbird has just escaped the kitchen, but a greater feast just appeared on the radar. Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. So what we have here is we've got our intro panel kind of up in space aboard this delivery ship. This is the ship that the crew owns and runs all their heists from. Got the title. You can see it kind of goes behind or goes in front of the character a little bit. I don't know how I didn't catch that, but you kind of miss things as you go. But as I've gotten better at creating comic books, I think I spot things like that faster. We got our Captain Red diving after the wart bird as it escapes with a big old knife. And we got the rest of the crew backing them up. Everybody's going after this bird. And so we got Flip over here. We have 8, Kick, Annie, and Hands. Now, who are these guys? If you've seen any of my latest stuff, you haven't seen any of these guys. These guys, I don't know if I'm going to bring them back. I'd like to. But they're meant to be just kind of like the red shirts of the crew. Well, maybe that's even pushing it too far. But these are worms, and worms are 90% of the characters you see in this book are not natural characters. They are engineered in a lab, grown in a lab, created for a reason. The dog character could have been created to be a guard dog or something, right? So worms are the easiest things to create, the bare minimum of things that's needed to power a being to do laborious work, right? So basically kind of slaves. However, these 3 happen to be ones that our crew has come across their adventures and brought on board to be members of the crew. Another character, Annie, started out with barely even, like I was talking about the 80-page book that I was doing before this. She maybe had 1 speaking line, didn't know what to do with her. It was just kind of a background fill-in character to put in the background of things, but she has really become, I would say, between her and Red, the comic book is about them. So from just being a background character to becoming a main character, it's really exciting to see her growth, and she's turning out to be a really cool character. So here they all are. The wart bird got out of the kitchen. Let's go get him. And then he's caught. Captain Red catches him. It squawks. All of a sudden, red alert. We get somebody over the loudspeaker or the ship's comms talking to the captain. And that person's name is Rainey. We'll see mention of Rainey later on in this story, but besides this story, I've never done anything with that character. Just like the worms, I don't know if there's a spot for this character going forward, but you never know. But that's just interesting that there's a character here that we never see. We're talking to him, we never see him, and we might never see him again. So Rainey's saying there's something coming in on the radar. They look out so I like to imagine the ship, or parts of the ship, is kind of like my back porch, right? I got a back screened-in porch. Obviously, this is probably like a force field or something, right? But I want that feel of it being open, and you can look out in space, or you can sit on the edge of this and dangle your legs out. I don't know. It's got to feel. I don't want it to feel confined to a ship, and we can let soft science explain how that's possible. But yeah, so they're in some kind of, maybe like some kind of rec room module of the ship, looking out, and they see this chicken ship that's on the radar flying through, and hey, it's a chicken ship. So Captain Red decides, oh man, you know what? We could eat this wart bird, or we can feast on that giant ship. And so they decide, let's go eat that. And the bird is pretty happy with that. I haven't done this either lately, but I always wanted to have the characters wearing weird shirts or something like this, and then have like, what is it, spread shop or spread shirt? I don't know. There's like some site, and have these shirts made up. I don't know. I never went anywhere with that, but that was the original plan. All right, so he's like, all right, well, let's do that. All right, so then you can see the panel borders change. It goes from being on our ship to being on that chicken ship. I think I left a mark there from the last attempt to record this. Sorry about that. But yeah, so you can see the panels change. And also, I love the way I did this. I don't do it anymore. But I remember when I did this, I really dug it. So, I mean, not the outline of the panel, that's cool, but the line art, right, continues out. And then it kind of turns gray outside of the panel. I really liked that when I did it. I'd like to try some more of that stuff again in the future. So we'll see. But okay, so we got Red and Hands sneaking on the chicken ship, right? You can see we're inside. Here's the backbone. We're like inside the cavity. There'd be the hole, or the back end of the chicken back here, and the breast coming up here, probably your leg. Anyway, you know how a chicken looks. So they sneak in, and these two fungus characters, like somehow some astronauts got decapitated, and they get in there and live within the helmet of the astronaut and have these tentacles that come out. And there's some kind of fungus, right? Some kind of fungus. And this guy's just going off about how this girl don't like him. It's kind of cringy now, maybe. I don't know. I know going back and reading it, I would have wrote it some other way. But I do like that he calls the guy that's after his girl a clump of fung. It just sounds kind of funny. They're fungus, and that's kind of like a fungus calling another fungus something funny. But anyway, so he's just going off, and this guy is, look, man, can we just get this back to the hive? And I don't want to have to listen to your stuff, but at the same time, our characters are about to take him out, right? Yeah, so next page. This was only a 4-pager, so it ends here, but we can see... here we go, Rainy again. Maybe we'll figure out who that is one day. But letting them know we got the chicken ship secured. It's fun to say. And so he's got some kind of insecticide or pesticide or fungicide, I guess, here. And it's probably not clear, but this is supposed to be the poison from that that's killed these. You can see he's no longer green. He's kind of dried out and brown. But he's like, yeah, man, all right, we got the ship. There was a nanostar a few jumps back. Let's go roast it there, you know? Again, like how I want to bring like an outside feel to space. Like, you know, like they're sitting on their porch. They've got a grill going and they're cooking some food, you know? I love that. I love doing that myself, so I want to make sure my characters do it and find a fun way to do that in space. So... yeah, so they pull up to this star. They got their crane out with the chicken tied to it. They are going to roast it on this little tiny star. At the same time, I guess maybe refuel some of the energy that they can collect from this thing. And yeah. So that is, yeah, and I really like the way I was saying about how the line art comes outside and is kind of grayed out. I really like the way that looks here. I think it's pretty cool. So what else do we got? That's pretty much it. I loved creating this story. I love the colors that I did. I'm not very good at coloring, but I do like the way this turned out. I feel like, I think I used like a color pencil. And I like the softness of it. I like that it's not very, I don't know, it just looks like something I would do as a kid instead of something like a professional comic artist would do, and maybe that's what I like about it. But there you go. A Space Thanksgiving, the first short story from the first issue. Go check it out. And we're going to dive into Muscle Planet Business Plan next. Awesome. Thank you.